All right, it is Monday. It is March. We're out
It
of
is
February.
March.
There was no snowstorm this weekend, which is fantastic. Today we started another week, and I'm here with Sunny Hostin.
Yes.
It's March 2nd. I'm here with Sunny Hostin. Hello, Sunny.
Hi, Brian.
Today we started another week of guest hosts. This has
Yes.
been exciting and interesting to have different people drop
It
into the
has.
seat. Today we started with former View co-host Elisabeth Hasselbeck. How was day one?
I thought it was great. You know what's good about having a former co-host is that they know how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not trying to make some viral moment. They just know
Right.
how that it's a sort of a game of volleyball that you don't keep the ball too long. And she's really good at it. We're both part of the Decade Club.
We were talking
saying.
about that on the break. It's really because I remember we started this season and you hit 10
Yes,
years,
this is my
and we
10th
were
year.
saying like, wow, you're like the fifth or something like that most tenured
Yes.
person at this point. I think
it's-
something in there.
I think it's third or fourth.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, you and
yeah.
Elizabeth are tied,
We're tied now.
and that's really a rarefied
It's really
air.
something.
Yeah.
And I asked her though, is it like riding a bike? And she said, no, it's not. I was preparing all night. And I forget because I've been doing it, 10 years straight, that there is a lot of preparation that
There
goes
is.
in, and you've got to be read up on current events, and you have to be very thoughtful about it.
Right.
Because she said to me at the break, wow, you're so thoughtful. Well, but you have to be because the news is somewhat skewed in certain places, news that people consume. And I know from you that people turn to us for their news sometimes.
They do.
Because it can be difficult to digest all the different information that's coming at people. So I try to read it and be very thoughtful and sort of give my understanding of what's going on in the world geopolitically, which is, it's tough to do. So we were both commiserating, like we're in the Decade Club, but it's still kind of hard.
Absolutely, and there's a reason not many people make it that long.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's a job, and the show is very different than it was in
That's what
Elizabeth's
she
day
said.
too.
She said it's very different. It's so politics heavy right
Yes,
now.
which has more to do with the world that we're in, I think,
Yeah.
than any decision the show made.
Exactly.
But it's funny. So, Elizabeth is a proud Trump supporter.
She
and
is.
You mentioned that at the table, and the audience reacted like it was like you did her dirty.
It was
and
unbelievable.
It was so
I was
funny.
like, I just said it. Like,
Yeah,
you
I think
voted.
you did.
I
And there
think
was like
you
a
voted.
ooh
Like, I didn't
moment.
vote. It was not a gotcha
No.
moment. It wasn't
and,
a
and
shady.
she was like, yeah, I did it. I'm proud. It's so funny.
It
that
wasn't
this
a
is
shady
where
moment.
we are.
It was just,
Yeah.
I know that about her because
Yeah.
I know her. Elizabeth and I have each other's phone numbers. We've
Right.
texted. And I mean, I can't believe she voted for him 3 times, but she did. And I just wanted people to know I didn't vote for this.
Right.
But you did.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a much needed perspective to the table and to the conversation. She voted for him. Is this what I'm going to ask her that a lot this week. Is this what she expected?
Right.
Is this what she voted for? Is she okay with it? I think that viewers want to know that.
Well, I think so because I guarantee you there are people in all of our viewers' lives that feel exactly as Elizabeth did.
Yes.
And it's a different perspective from Alyssa, who at one point was completely on board
Yes.
and made a decision, this isn't what I wanted.
Right.
This isn't it, and moved away.
But
Elizabeth hasn't.
Elizabeth hasn't,
So,
and I think
it's interesting.
I think it's fascinating. So all those people that gasped and all the viewers, it was not a shady
I
moment.
didn't think so either,
It was
yeah.
just like I didn't vote for him. You did.
Well, the big news, obviously, the only story right this moment is the United States' attack on Iran.
Yeah.
This morning on The View, you called it an unconstitutional war and a legal war.
It is.
Let's talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, we have, of course, the 3 branches of government in the United States, and that's the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch, and Congress is the only branch that has the power to declare war. It also has the power of the purse. So when I see the executive branch in and of itself just declaring war with an ally, with Israel together, it is mind-boggling to me. For me as a lawyer, the first thing I think of is where in the Constitution does it say that the president can just wage war on another country without congressional approval? I don't think this is, any lawyer will tell you it's an illegal war. It's unconstitutional. And my understanding is that Congress is calling him to task, and there may be a war resolution, perhaps. I'm sure he has the support for it, but that was supposed to come first and not second.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other argument to that is for a long time now, the executive, the president, has more and more used those powers,
Yes.
and not really been rebuked for it.
And I think it's wrong. I mean, not only did this president do it without Congress. He did it without the UN, so it's illegal under international law, and without the approval of the American people. I just think if you run on this platform of America first, then why are groceries so expensive? Why is healthcare so expensive? Why is car insurance so expensive? Why is the cost of living so expensive? Why is our infrastructure a mess? Why are our roads a mess? So how much money does it cost the American people to start a war in Iran? And I would love the freedom of women in Iran. I think the Persian culture is an incredible culture, but how much did it cost us? And will women really be free? Will there be free and fair elections? I don't think this president has a plan for that.
Will Americans die? And they
will,
are.
And four Americans have already died.
Yeah.
I mean, these aren't going to be the kids of billionaires. These are going to be our kids. These are going to be the kids of the middle class. I grew up in abject poverty. So many people in my family went into the armed forces, not only because they loved their country, but because it was going to give them a chance at perhaps going to school, a chance perhaps at owning a home, through the VA bill. So I just wonder, where is America in this?
Well, one conversation I've seen repeated a lot of times, and I think you'd agree with this, is the case hasn't been made to the American people yet as to why now. Why are we doing this? No one thinks.
I thought this president said that he's saying at one point now that it's because nuclear
they were 2 weeks away,
I thought he said last year that after strikes on Iran that they had no nuclear capability. All experts are saying that they are years away from nuclear capability. So that you can't make the case for that. What is the case?
Right.
Is it regime change? I thought this president was going to be the president of peace. That's what he built. He claims to have stopped 8 wars. I think he started many, many wars already.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
I had more to say on the show today, as you hear.
I do. And well, speaking of things we didn't get to on the show today, I'm going to change gears a little bit here because we were planning to talk about Bill Clinton testifying on the Epstein files. Last week, Bill and Hillary gave their closed-door deposition before the Republican-led House Oversight Committee in their investigation related to Jeffrey Epstein. The former president said he saw nothing and did nothing wrong. He also blasted Republicans for bringing in Hillary to be deposed. What did you make of it?
Well, one thing, I think everyone should read their affidavits that have been made public because in this subcommittee has subpoenaed many people to testify in front of it. And most of the people that were subpoenaed have been allowed to submit affidavits and not be deposed. The Clintons submitted affidavits, as did these others. The others were not required to come in. The Clintons were. Their affidavits are very telling, and I think people should read them for themselves. They've also submitted opening statements, and I read both of theirs, and I think people should read those. But what President Clinton basically... we don't have the full transcript of what happened.
We might have it this week.
We may have it this week. What he said was, I haven't, it's been 24 years. I'm going to say I don't recall because I don't want to guess. He said, but one of the other things that he said in the statement that I read, which was very interesting, was, why did you call Hillary? Hillary does not even recall being in the same room with Jeffrey Epstein. And I think that is the most important part of the Clintons testifying. Quite frankly, it's not what they testified to or what they recalled. It's most important that they testified that under oath, because there were a lot of other people that were mentioned in the Epstein files, including the First Lady, Melania Trump. There are photographs of Melania Trump, not only with Jeffrey Epstein, but with also Ghislaine Maxwell. I want to hear from her. I want to hear from the president, Donald Trump. He is mentioned over 35,000 times. And so if you have a former president and you have a former U.S. Senator, First Lady of the United States, former Secretary of State testifying, that means that this is open. I think it's an open field. Now, everyone who should and is subpoenaed must be deposed. I don't think that they should be closed door. I think they should be open to the public. I think people shouldn't have to wait for transcripts. That's what the Clintons wanted, but this committee has chosen not to do that. But I want to see a lot of people now subpoenaed and deposed.
Well, and again, I have to say, Trump and the Clintons have denied any wrongdoing, Melania as well, and any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. How confident are you now that Bill and Hillary have been subjected to this, that Donald Trump and Melania will be compelled successfully to do the same at some point?
I don't think that this Republican-led Congress will subpoena them at all.
Midterms are coming up, though.
I don't think they will. We know that Donald Trump has, testified before and pled the fifth, I believe, thousands of times, which is his right. I don't think that we'll hear from them, but that is unfortunate because the Clintons have raised the bar now. If a former president can be deposed and subpoenaed by this Congress, that means that nothing is off the table.
Semi-reluctantly, they were forced to do it, so you would think that the same thing could happen.
Then
on the
they
other
should
side.
force President Trump and the First Lady to testify.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens, and if there's a Democrat-controlled Congress, it might be a different world.
Hypocrisy sort of reigns right now, but after the midterms, perhaps we'll see it.
All right, there's another story I wanted to get your take on. Sterling K. Brown was on an episode of Dax Shepard's podcast,
I love him,
Armchair
by the way. I
Expert.
know him personally.
Dax talked about why he and his wife, Kristen Bell, who I love, I know her personally, why they don't post his daughters on social media, saying that it gives them an opportunity to be anonymous, which I understand. Mm-hmm. Here's how Sterling responded to that. I wanted to get your take on it.
You have 2 girls. I have 2 boys. Your children are obviously white. My children are black.
Yeah.
I feel like the more I put them on social, the safer they are.
Oh, that's interesting. 100%.
Sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, any proximity that black boys can have to some sort of celebrity or access or whatnot.
Status, leverage.
I'm like, I'm trying to make sure that they make it home.
Yeah.
I would agree with him on that. It's, I have a reluctant relationship with social media, as you know.
Yeah.
And I've often thought that one of the mistakes that I made on social media and on this show was that I announced that Gabriel was going to Harvard. And the first day that he went, People magazine did an article on him. And I feel, and I think he would agree, that he didn't have a normal college experience because of that. And I didn't do that with Paloma. Not many people know where she goes to school, and she's had a much more normalized experience. That being said, I do understand what Sterling is saying, and I do think the fact that people do know that those are my children have given them some semblance of protection. Mm-hmm. I often tell the children people must understand that they belong to someone,
right?
And that someone is someone with a law degree. That someone is a father who's a physician. And we are people with access, and they are protected as much as can be. And so I understand what he's saying, very much so, just in the same way that I've had to have the talk with my son about police engagement, which my guess is a discussion you have not had with your children, even though you have teenagers.
Yeah.
That's a discussion that I had with my daughter and my son before they were driving age and before they were 13 or 14.
I remember you telling a story that you introduced Gabriel to the police in your town at one point.
I sure did, because he was running track and he would be running around, and we lived in a predominantly white neighborhood. We still do. And I didn't want the police seeing this brown boy jogging around, and sometimes he would take off his shirt without a shirt. Is he running from someone? No, he's just training for the Junior Olympics, but that may be perceived in that neighborhood differently.
Yeah, I had never thought about that, and it makes complete sense to me hearing Sterling talk about it. And I've talked to you obviously over the years about this stuff. I talk about my daughters on this podcast a lot.
Yeah.
But I keep all my social media private, actually, except for Twitter, where I never do anything with them.
Yes.
But because most of my social media is just videos of my daughters and photos of my daughters, and I try to keep that. But it's a different world I live in.
It's a different world. It is.
Switching gears, speaking of different worlds, your weekend was very different than mine. Tell me what you did.
I went to Paris.
Very nice.
I went to Paris with my best friend, Regina. I am on the board of Dance Theater of Harlem now. Mm-hmm. And it's a classical ballet company, predominantly African-American. And so it's very special. I've been, I danced ballet. My daughter danced ballet. And they resurrected, for the first time in 40 years in Paris, It's the first time they performed in Paris in 40 years, a ballet called The Firebird. And the wonderful costumes were done by Jeffrey Holder. His son redid the costumes for present day. And it was just spectacular. There were about 500 people from the States that went to see it. So someone told me, "Oh, all the Black Illuminati are here," and it was just incredible the way the Parisians welcomed these Black ballet dancers, and it was probably one of the most beautiful ballets that I've seen. I remember seeing Firebird many years ago. And this young this young dancer, Alexandra, from out of the Washington School of Ballet, I had the chance to spend time with her. It's a ballet that requires, and I think your daughters will appreciate it, requires incredible core strength, leg strength, and you are on toe shoes for the majority of the performance. And so oftentimes when you're a ballet dancer, you get a chance to rest a bit. But because she's playing a bird and she's flittering around almost like a hummingbird, she has to do sort of these small movements over and over and over again, completely on toe for probably 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
It requires a real star to be able to do that. It requires incredible maturity and incredible talent. And she has all of that. And so seeing it through the eyes of someone who could never do it, I was a dancer, but was never that good, never reached that height. It was like, it's a miracle to see it. And I hope we get the chance to have Dance Theater of Harlem, maybe have her come and show our viewers
That'd be great.
What that looks like, because it is, she's a phenom.
That'd be great.
So that's what I did. I shopped also, but I won't talk about that
but
because
you also,
Manny is also traveling, and so I was able to buy an extra piece of luggage and bring some things back.
Oh, without him noticing?
Well, he won't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he doesn't listen to the
So
podcast?
it's great.
No,
No, he doesn't. And Regina also bought some things, vintage things,
all right.
which
Well,
are special.
Paris is special. And you came back not at all jet lagged. I'm very impressed.
I know,
Yeah.
right? I was thinking I was going to be a mess today, but I feel pretty good. I don't know when it'll hit me.
Because you're
but-
6 hours ahead right now. That's
Yeah,
why.
I'm 6 hours ahead, but I felt it yesterday.
I bet.
I did.
Well, this is all interesting because the Manny stuff in particular, because today on the show we talked about the nonchalant boyfriend.
Yes.
And you said quiet love has worked for you for 27 years of
Yes.
marriage. I have to say, I would expect Sonny Hostin to want the grand gesture. No?
And you know Manny, he's quiet.
Oh, Manny's quiet for sure. But,
Yeah,
but you
he's
are not quiet.
I'm not. I think I'm too much. I think it'd be too much. I mean, he does.
I mean, I was at your 50th birthday party. It was not quiet.
It wasn't quiet.
No.
But he was, if you notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. Those were my 300
Yes.
friends, 500 friends. He planned it for me with a group of my friends, but and he gave a very quick, quiet
I remember.
speech.
Yeah.
It's been quiet love from the very beginning. The proposal was quiet. It was just the two of us. Our marriage is quiet. We have, Margarita Fridays, margarita in a movie. We've done it for almost 30 years, the same date on Friday night. It's a quiet love, no grand gestures. He buys me nice things. He brings me flowers. My favorite candy is marzipan. He brings me marzipan probably every week, and he just leaves it in the kitchen. But it's a very quiet,
So quiet
love.
but attentive.
Attentive, loyal, and I love that about it. It's just we were actually at a party recently, and someone said, "Don't let them sit together as a dinner party. Don't let them sit together because they go into their own worlds." And we do. So we were separate, and the minute the dinner ended, we went to each other in the corner and just started chatting with each other because we're each other's best friends, and so we kind of noticed different things. And
I don't love that when I go out with a group and they split us up.
They
and
always
it's all
split
the
us up.
girls and the men on one side, and I always try to get the hinge where I get both my wife and the guys.
No, they try to separate us now because we will spend the entire night just speaking with each other.
Yeah.
But we find each other anyway.
I like to make side
quiet.
judgmental comments to my wife during the dinner,
the
and that's
best.
the thing. Yeah, you can't do that if you're not sitting together.
But then you just do a recap later.
Of course, that's true. All right. On that note, Thank you for joining me today, Sunny.
Thank
Tomorrow,
you.
I'll be back with Joy Behar. Joy Behar, Elizabeth Hasselbeck at the table, guys. You gotta tune in for this.
I cannot wait.
View History is back. We'll see you then.